Hi everyone. I am going to address a kind of difficult subject, as I tend to do, but I'm going to try to keep it short. But I just have this nagging question that I've dealt with for years, because I'm one of the rare few that my parents are still married, and many people I know have parents who are not married, or they themselves are going through a divorce or have gone through a divorce. And divorce, I think we can all agree, even when it's the right choice in a situation, is messy and painful. Like I said, even if it's the right thing, even if you're leaving someone who hurt you badly, it's always messy. It's costly in more than ways than one, and I'm sure there's still even a tiny bit of you that might miss the person who may have hurt you. And if not, that's probably a blessing, to be able to separate peacefully from someone who is causing harm. But this specific question I have about divorce is why people say we're going to wait till the kids are 18 and then we'll divorce. Now, two problems I see with that. Well, first let me get to the thing that might be good about it, and it's probably the only thing I can think of. If children are really, really young, and you can pick whatever age, it really applies no matter what, maybe when they turn 18, they'd be able to intellectually process a divorce more than maybe a 5-year-old. Okay, I get that. But being able to process a divorce doesn't mean it's less painful or less destructive on the child. I feel like waiting until they're 18 doesn't do a lot of good, and basically you're just putting a due date on the divorce. You're saying, we're not going to divorce right now, but we will later. Now, if you are already planning to divorce, it doesn't matter if it's 2 months from now or 10 years from now, you've basically thrown in the towel on your marriage. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything mean. I just think that that's what happens when people say they want to divorce or end the marriage. They've already decided it. They've already, committed to that. And I know people who have almost divorced and then their marriage has been restored, and that's what I hope for all marriages, except for the ones that maybe are unequally yoked or have abusive things going on. Of course, those situations have to be evaluated. Even though they can be restored and whatnot, it is okay to divorce in certain circumstances, so there is that. But if for example, you're in one of those messy divorces that divorce would probably be the better option, saying you wait till the kids are 18 isn't only unhealthy for the children potentially, but it's unhealthy for the spouse being maybe abused or neglected if it's an abusive situation. And if you're unequally yoked, that's one of those you really have to seek God about, probably more than any reason to divorce, because in the Bible it says somewhere about, I'll try to find the verse and post it below, but it says something about if the unbelieving spouse leaves, let them leave, and that's okay. And I don't think it's completely wrong for the believing spouse to leave if it's becoming an issue. I am not God. I cannot make that decision for somebody, and I know people have divorced for way less, so I can't say that being unequally yoked is a bad reason to get divorced, because it is talked about biblically. But I just see, like, if there are children involved, especially, but even if there aren't, it's two people who have said, we're going to divorce at some point in the future, so how are you going to treat each other if you already know divorce is coming? If you practically write divorce into your vows, I mean, people have this flawed thinking. They walk around one day, they trip over a rock and fall in love like it's this instant thing. And attraction is pretty instant. Attraction is. But loving someone, especially when they don't love you back, which, by the way, marriage has a lot of days like that where you feel unloved, but you still want to love or you still have to love the person back. You may not want to some days, but you decide to love them even when you don't feel all that loved. You don't feel like you love them very much. You still choose to show them love. That's a lot of what marriage is. That's half the battle. So if two people have said, or even just one of them has already called it quits and said, we're going to divorce in such and such amount of time, especially if they're children, those children are looking at these parents who have given up, and they're not going to put in that much effort, I would think. And if they do put in effort into keeping the marriage alive, I would say that they won't end up divorcing, because it inevitably must get better if they're actually trying to spend time with their spouse and pray for them and serve them in certain ways that they feel loved and whatever. All the stuff that it takes to be a good spouse. If people are trying to do that in the remaining time they have set for their marriage to end, it has to get better and it has to be restored. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but it's just a confusing thing I hear people say. Like, they think it's super noble to wait till the kids are 18. And again, there's that tiny, potentially okay reason, like the kids could maybe comprehend what a divorce is better, but you're just making the divorce longer, really, is what you're doing. You're just saying, we're throwing in the towel now, but let's wait a decade before we divorce. Why? Why are you... Divorce is already hard enough. It's already, even when it's the exact perfect choice and it's the right thing to do. Like I said, there are some biblical reasons and maybe some more modern reasons that it's acceptable. Even then, it's messy. Marriage is very serious. It's something that brings two families together in a very tightly bound way. So when you rip that apart, even when it's supposed to happen, it's so painful and messy. I can't emphasize it enough. I'm not trying to be annoying, but I just am thinking, if you are with someone abusive, or maybe they're doing drugs, or maybe it's something else, you really want to wait until the children are 18 to divorce that person? If you're going to divorce, I'm not trying to encourage divorce, but if it's supposed to happen, why are you waiting until the kids are 18? It's going to hurt the children either way. It just is. Now, if you, even if it's just you and your spouse does not, if you even have a glimmer of hope and you desire for your marriage to be restored, don't call it quits yet. It has to be prayerful, and I cannot imagine the kind of pain people go through coming to the decision to divorce. I'm sure it's not a whim decision ever. Like, it can't be. It's something that's really thought about most times. But saying, well, wait till the kids are 18, I don't think it's doing as much good as you're hoping it would, because it's going to hurt either way. It might hurt even worse. Taking years to say, well, he hates me, he doesn't want to be with me, this is going to be a really hard decade, or 2 years, or 3 months, or however long it takes for your kids to turn 18. For some reason, it seems like it's just better to divorce when they're 18, but I argue it isn't. I don't have divorced parents, so I don't really know what it's like as a child to go through a divorce, so I don't want to talk to you if you are one of those people as if I know everything, but I genuinely am confused by this. I want to know, have you or your parents or someone you know been through a divorce? Did they wait till the children were 18? Were you that child? Did it seem to help? Do you wish that you were younger and they just divorced sooner? What are your thoughts about divorce in general, even if it's irrelevant to the children's age? Because I have a lot of opinions about marriage and about divorce, but most of what I think about marriage has to do with what God says about it. And I talk a lot about that in my book, Victory in Marriage. I will link that below if you're interested. And I also have other videos on my authoring channel about chapters that I've written in Victory in Marriage. So go through that. I answer a lot of questions there too and address some of these topics. But I just want to end with something encouraging. I hope that I strongly believe that if you're in a failing marriage, or you know someone who is in one right now, divorce doesn't have to be the way out. Again, if it is a serious, abusive, neglective, unequally yoked situation, those are a few of the reasons that divorce might be what you end up doing. But make sure you take your time to figure that out. Make sure you, as someone who can control most of what you say and do, that you are still being a loving spouse to the one who isn't being that loving in your relationship. Because if after all your efforts it still fails, then you would have still tried everything you had. You would have done everything you could to save it. And honestly, God is really the one who can restore marriages. Us on our own, it can be taxing and it can end in divorce just because we can't do it anymore. So I hope you're not doing it on your own. Sorry, my dog is coming in. I hope that you're not doing it on your own. You or your parents or whoever. I hope that they aren't on their own in this. But just be prayerful about it, because divorce is going to be a really hard road. It might be harder than the marriage you're going through. So just think about what you're willing to sacrifice to end your marriage. And I just challenge you to think, if your children aren't 18 and you're deciding maybe I should wait till they're 18, you really have to ask God what is the best situation, because divorce is only permissible in certain circumstances biblically, and there are a lot of modern problems that maybe weren't in the Bible. So I know there are a lot of gray areas, it seems, when it comes to divorce nowadays. But seek wise counsel and do what you think is the best decision, or rather what God tells you to do. That really is my point. It's not really about what we think some of the times. And I'm trying to be gentle, because if you are going through something like this, it's probably the hardest thing you've ever gone through. But I have seen a lot of people who are the strongest marriages I know, who have been through adultery, neglect, abuse of various substances. All at once sometimes. But they are completely free of all of it. And of course, they aren't a perfect marriage, but they sure are one of my model examples. So it is possible. That's why I say divorce should really be a last resort, even in the worst cases. And of course, there are probably circumstances where you have to take immediate action. And I have not been through that personally. So I think you just have to take your time, and taking your time might be a lot quicker for some people, depending on the situation, but waiting till your kids are 18 is not the only reason you should consider. In fact, it's not even always the best thing. If divorce is supposed to happen, you should probably do it sooner rather than wait. Really, I mean, if you're set on divorcing, you should probably just do it now, honestly. But please, if you're getting married, don't write in your vows something to the effect of, if we fall out of love, then we can divorce, or let's figure out how we could do this amicably. If for some reason our marriage falls apart, it comes down to you both choosing if your marriage succeeds or fails. Sometimes it's only one spouse who kind of chooses that, and that is really terrible. And I'm sure people have been very hurt by spouses who have just given up in their marriage. But please look at the links below. Ask me questions. Comment on things I brought up, because I'm not trying to sound ignorant. I'm not trying to even be judgmental. But I don't think anyone who's even heard the word divorce thinks it's a good thing or something to celebrate, even when it's like someone leaving someone who hurt them in a very bad way. I don't think people have a party about it. I don't know anyone who has. So I think we can agree that divorce is something we need to be a community about and talk about. So please tell me if you have been through a situation where you were 18, your parents divorced, and it was better probably, or just tell me your experience, whatever that is, because I really do want to know. Let's have a discussion about it as adults, and if you have questions, I will try to help you. I haven't been through it personally, but I just like talking to people about hard things. So let me know what your thoughts are, and I look forward to next time.